Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome back, boys. Welcome back to the channel, and as always I appreciate all the love and support. Today's video we're going to talk about prime time back there. We got them all washed up. I just literally washed the car and I picked it up yesterday from CFX Performance, and I'm super excited to say that the motor is finally put into the car. So that's the good thing. Everything was taken care of. Parts were changed, hoses were changed. There was hoses that I didn't even know that I had issues with on the car. Those were changed, like the coolant hose, the housing under the motor, under the block. As soon as they fired up the car, or they put the 6 quarts in there, as soon as they did that, all the oil just came right out. So I had to order a gasket for that, and that's for the new motor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys exactly what has been done to the car before I start putting all the dressing back under the engine, in the engine bay, where I put the engine cover on, the strut bar and all that good stuff. I want to show you guys how clean they did the motor. So don't mind the little drips that you might see on the car right now, because I literally just washed the car and I figured, you know what, I was gonna start working on it. I might as well just record the video so that way you guys could see what we got going on. So let's just get right to it. All right, you guys, like I said, don't mind the little drips. I'll take care of that in a little bit here. It's got the ceramic coating on there, so that'll wipe right off. So before I put the engine cover back on and cover everything up, there goes the new motor all installed and good to go. Now, first things first, I want to start with is the fact that CFX Performance, they did something where most places probably wouldn't do. And what I mean by that is they completely cleaned the car from under it. They degreased it, pressure washed it, the subframe, because here's the deal. I got wires and stuff like that for my headlights because they're aftermarket and all this stuff, and the wrap is obviously really expensive. So I really appreciate them taking the time to say, hey, you know what, let's brainstorm how we can do this setup for you and make sure that everything is taken care of. Because if you guys are familiar, there is that like blue like tape thing that they put on the side on the fender when they work on your car and stuff like that, so to prevent it from scratching. The only thing is when you're putting it on paint, it's one thing, as of putting it on the wrap. We didn't know what was going to be the outcome, so we didn't want to take that chance. So they said, let's just drop the motor from under the car, do it the old school way, and this way we don't have to remove your hood or your bumper or your wide body or any of that stuff. Now, one of the reasons why I decided let's do that is because that bolt right there and that bolt right there is not threaded all the way in completely straight. So they didn't want to take that chance to, you know, mess that up, and then now they got to make other holes and all this stuff, which I said that's fine, let's just leave everything the way it is, because it's never given me an issue. It's always been like that. So what they did was they dropped it from the bottom. Now that's first things first, and then they cleaned the entire subframe. I mean, dude, you couldn't even see some of the parts that was under the car. You couldn't even see it because it was all covered in oil. So a couple things, if you guys don't know, in my previous video, one of my previous videos, I was mentioning that my catch can was installed completely incorrect, and I went ahead and spent 2 hours that day. And you know, I know I did a time lapse, but I recorded the video where I redid everything correct. So I asked CFX Performance if we can keep it exactly the same. It's in the same exact spot, it's set up exactly the same way how it was when we first took it over there to them. What I do like about everything on here is all the hoses are completely clean and flush, and I like how they zip tied everything. I didn't have it like that. It was all nice and clean. This hose right here is from my boost gauge, and it was, if you guys haven't remembered from my last video or seen my last video, my boost gauge was clear. The color was clear and it was running across the engine bay. So they put a better hose on there, which I really like. That's a thicker material, and they ran it around nice and clean. So one thing you will notice is it doesn't have, there's like this cover that's on here that's like a fabric material, and they did offer if I wanted to take these valve covers and get them powder coated like a red color, which would have been sick, a gloss red, and then this whole manifold right here in gloss black, it would look really clean, but I cover all that. So that's on this side. Let's work our way around to the other side, and I'll show you guys what they did on that side too. So over here, what we had to do was, obviously we had to change the injectors and put the ATSV injectors back in there. But when I asked them to make sure that all my hoses, everything is closed back here like that, I don't know if you could see that little nipple right there, but you have to make sure that that one is closed off, so that way there's no vacuum leak, and then this goes directly down to the intake. Now, speaking of the intake, I didn't know this entire time, somehow, some way, the intake that goes down from the supercharger all the way down to the air filter, that intake somehow has a big hole in it, and I'm going to show you guys a picture here in just 1 second. You're going to see there's a big hole in it, and he showed me that, and that's obviously a really bad boost leak right there. So I don't even know how the tune and everything was done. I don't know if the tune was done first and then it did that. I'm not sure, but it was definitely there. So they changed out the pipe that was down there. I don't know if I could, yeah, you're not going to see it through here, but the pipe that goes down that way, they changed that out. They changed the gasket that was on the bottom of this new motor that was leaking, and then they changed the coolant hose. That one had a slight leak in it, and then they made sure that all my hoses and everything were done and put on exactly the same way for the catch can, and they cleaned it up. I mean, this wasn't like that. That little piece right there, that plastic piece, was like an older piece that I had and was kind of yellowish. I mean, they cleaned everything up. So not just made it look pretty, you know, on the block itself and everything, but they just really did the install really clean. Like looking at the motor, I could literally see all the way down to the ground, and normally I just feel like there was so much grease and stuff like that, I could never see the subframe all the way down there. You guys see that bolt all the way down there, right there where my finger is pointing? I couldn't even see that before because all that was covered in oil and grease, and now it's all taken care of. So super clean. I wanted to show you guys what they did, how they did it, and how impressed I am with their work. They took their time with the car. I know that, you know, the car stayed there a little bit longer than we were hoping for, but you know, obviously we had to make sure that it was done right. We had to order parts last minute, you know, and we were hoping that everything would be smooth, but being that that's a used motor, you know, things could come where you might have to replace them. Even though this motor has 37,000 miles on it, you know, I'm super excited to have that kind of mileage. So, but yeah, man, hopefully you guys like that. Oh, another thing was, believe it or not, my catch can used to move. I don't know why, but the bolt that's down over here, it had a nut on the bottom, and for some reason it just wouldn't tighten up anytime I ever tried it. So I mentioned that to them, and they went ahead and just put a new bolt on there and cleaned this whole thing up, and now it's in perfect, doesn't move at all that good stuff. So I'm really excited. My steering pump reservoir, that was also leaking right over here, so they cleaned all that up too, made sure that it's all taken care of. This was all covered in black, you know what I mean? Like, it was terrible. So I do want to say a huge shout out to CFX Performance for taking care of the car. If you guys are in Arizona, California, Colorado, wherever you're at, you know, and you want to bring it down here, bring it to these guys, you know, they'll take care of you like they took care of me. Big shout out to Tracy Lewis, because, you know, he walked me through the entire process, and still while we were doing the install, he was walking us through the process, making sure the catch can and everything was installed correct. Shout out to Will as well. Will out there in Canada, you know, he's a part owner of this Supercharger kit and everything. So I mean, everybody that was involved, Modified 1LT Camaro, all the Priminators, everybody on Facebook, I really appreciate you guys. So now what I have to do is I have to start putting my parts back. So I'm going to clean that because I dirtied that from my sound system from touching it when I was removing everything. But I got my strut bar right over here on the ground. I got my engine cover right there, which I'm going to have to clean that up. It's got dirt on it. And then the little cover that was in the back of the motor, little firewall cover. So I got a little bit of work to do, man. I got to put that for the sound system and all that good stuff. But next thing that we're going to do is I'm scheduling the car. I decided to move the camera around so that way I could be under here and you guys could see me instead. But the next thing that we're gonna do is I'm scheduled for the 23rd of this month to take the car to the dyno, because when I start the car, it's like the idle goes up, down, up, down. And matter of fact, when it's in park, the car could cut off, it stalls out. If it's in neutral, it cuts out, it stalls out. But when it's in reverse and drive, you know, it works just fine. So obviously that sounds like fuel. It's not getting enough fuel because when I'm putting it in drive, something, you know. And now keep in mind, I did have upgraded injectors as it is in the car, but they were AC Delco, and I'm going to show you guys a picture right over here, which ones I had before, and there's the part number and everything. This that's an older photo that I'd taken before. And then I'm going to show you guys a picture of these ones that I took a picture of from Amazon, and these are the NGK model, and they're obviously and the NGK is obviously better than having the factory AC Delco. So being that we put the new spark plugs in, injectors stayed the same, the ATSV injectors, and then we rerouted and fixed the catch can, and with the motor and the compression and everything in there. I know the old tune should have picked it up for the most part, but we kind of figured that it might have to go back on a dyno because we're tweaking a couple of things here and there. So plus that big old hole that was in the intake. Yeah, that was crazy. I'm not sure how that's possible, how it would do that, touching a subframe like that and, you know, and melting, but I don't know. I mean, I know Arizona gets hot. It becomes like 120 out here in the summertime, but still. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Dyno up next. Alignment definitely needed. I don't know what happened. I was driving the car home on the highway on the 101, and as soon as I hit 64 miles an hour, that steering wheel started going like that. Like, it was weird. Like, it wouldn't always do it. It would every now and then do it. So, I mean, obviously the whole bottom of the car was dropped. So, we're gonna have to get that realigned too. So, we're gonna have to go back to those dudes that took care of me last time, which I have a video that I did, because they're the only ones here so far, especially in the West Valley, that, you know, take lowered cars. So, we're gonna take it back over there. But either way, if it's your first time on my page, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys. Channel's been growing. I appreciate your patience till I got the car back. I tried to put up, you know, videos in the meantime and talk about a couple of things, but be sure to give the video a thumbs up. That definitely helps out the channel. Leave a comment down below what you guys think, or what you might think that might cause that little delay that it has where it's idling up and down. If you've had an experience, if it was like a vacuum leak or something like that, I mean, I think we would know that. There is no engine light on, there's no nothing, and when I drove it home, it drove really good. So we'll see what it is. We're gonna run it on the dyno. Hopefully I can put up a little bit better numbers now that we found out that there was a boost leak, and we found out hoses weren't correct, and you know, things weren't lined up correctly. So maybe we can get, I know it came in at 511 to the crank, but you know, maybe we can get a little bit more than 428 to the wheels, especially now because the weather is nice outside. And when I ran it at that time, when I ran it, it was like 106 outside. So right now it's like 70, 65. So hopefully we can do some nice pulls, but that'll be another video. I'll see you guys, man, later. You already know how it goes. A Dilla, Priminator, out. Peace.
It's all about humanity.